So I'm not totally sure about that intro, but I know someone is going to really appreciate it being much shorter and sweeter and to the point, and someone's going to get really aggravated because I just screwed up all the presets they had to skip the first X number of seconds of this podcast. So you're welcome if I ruined your day, and I'm sorry if I didn't, or vice versa, something like that. Let's see here. Before we do the admin work, it is worth pointing out that Raggle Fraggle was first into the chat. Stuart is on time for once, so I'm pretty
Shocking.
sure the world is
But
going
welcome.
to end. And hello to Jeff Jag. I saw him leave a comment on Facebook saying that next year he's really going to try to make it, and you should. You should. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
But the name of the episode is Back to Reality. We're going to talk about the summer camp trip with a little bit less drinking and tomfoolery than what we had a week.
Significantly fewer dogs.
Oh, yes.
There were some dogs in the background of that one.
How many damn dogs did we have there? We had your one,
Three.
the Rains brought two, and then there was Benny and Sophie.
Yeah. 7, 9, maybe? Because there was 3, 2, 5, 6, 8. Yeah, at least 8.
Who else's dogs are you counting?
Well, there's the 2 dachshunds.
Yes.
There was Josh's 3.
Wait, Josh had 3? I thought he had 2. He had
Maybe
Otto.
I'm double counting one of the dogs. Oh no, Josh's 3rd dog was somewhere else. 7.
Yeah.
7.
I still don't know where you're getting 7. It doesn't matter. There was a ton of dogs there and a ton of campers. And
Well, there was 5 just between Tommy and Josh, plus the 2 dachshunds and mine. There were 4 plus the 2 Malinois. There was.
I totally forgot about Tim and Caroline's 2 Malinois. Okay, that's where our numbers are coming apart.
Those dogs are great.
Oh, dude, it was an absolute bucket of fun this year, like it always is.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to do admin work, and then we have to address the topic. So I'm Phil. This is Nick. Andrew's not with us, but he was definitely not abandoned on the side of the road somewhere in the UP by Tommy. I have it on good authority that he made it home safe. He contacted me. For those of you who missed Andrew, he was on the last episode. You should check in. But Andrew played host to me and my wife and my daughter for a couple of days before he joined all of us up in North Michigan on the trip. And I'm not going to lie, dude, we intentionally made the decision to go up a few days early, spend some time with Andrew because we haven't seen him, face to face in a while. And we got to catch up with Trek from formerly of MDFI. Now he's just an instructor instead of an owner. I saw Trexico. I now have a much bigger adult wish list.
Accurate.
Caught up with Uncle Randy, saw the church, and my adult wish list got a lot longer. Got to hang out with Andrew's parents, Harold and Sandy. Haven't seen them in a couple years, and they're an absolute ton of fun. And got to meet Andrew's significant other. So I can confirm that he does, in fact, like girls and is having some pretty good luck with a really cool one.
Fantastic.
I mean, I would love to goof on y'all and say that it's random internet stranger who's like the female version of the Nigerian prince. But I've met her in person and she's a real cool girl.
Hey, man, the internet works out pretty well for some of us.
I mean, you and I both met our wives on the internet.
I'm saying, man, got her the same place to get everything else.
Amazon.
No, the internet. This was pre-Amazon.
But now I'm wondering how long it'll be before you can purchase a girlfriend on Amazon.
Well,
I
imagine you probably can, depending on how high your standards are.
I'm going to take that one offline before we get really, really crazy. Okay, patrons. The patrons fund the show. They keep the shit show on the rails, and I definitely appreciate them continuing to not make this be a line item in my personal budget to keep the show going. And for the rest of you freeloaders, I'm not mad at you. I'm not even disappointed. No. I'm very happy to have anybody listen who wants to listen, but I always have to give the shout out to the patrons because they keep the bills paid. And the other thing keeps bills paid is merch. And the Brannons were actually here in Southeast Louisiana and dropped in on us the other day to have some food with us, share dinner, BS. Chris actually asked me, he's like, so what's the general rule on carrying firearms in your neck of the woods? And I was like, concealed is concealed. Let's stick to that.
Yep.
And Cypress Survivalist. So right before we went up north to the Matter of Facts camping trip, Cypress Survivalist had our second quarterly event. It was a ton of fun. We are already kind of starting to lay groundwork for our third quarter event. It will be sometime in a couple of months, hopefully when it cools down, because we're talking about doing a little camping trip down here in Louisiana, which is why we're trying to push it back to like October. So it's not, oh my God, Jesus Christ, hot.
October is a good time for a camping trip. Hell, even up by me right now, I think it was 93 today.
Yeah, it was 92 down here, and I don't even know what the humidity was. It was
all of it.
Ridiculous. Thank you, Raggle Fraggle, for that one. Yes,
we appreciate the external research help.
Yes, we have to use the inclusive term. They're inflatable girlfriends.
Well, they're not just inflatable now, I hear.
Nick, I don't even want to go down this road to ask. I don't even want to ask how you know so much about them, because I'm not going to like the answer I get.
I'm just guessing, man. I'm just guessing.
Okay.
Look, I'm just saying, technology has progressed. I'm sure technology has progressed for them too.
Perhaps. So before we get
started, do you not play those little mobile games on your phone and get the really weird ads for the AI chatbots?
I don't think I play the same kinds of games you do.
Nah, man, Tetris. The free Tetris on your phone comes with the ads every few levels.
Mm-mm.
Oh, all right. Well, you got to get yourself some Tetris, man. Tetris is awesome.
All right. So before we get to talking about the camping trip.
Poor bastard. Raggle says Maine hit triple digits today. Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know which one of y'all. I don't know which one of y'all angered Mother Nature, but please apologize already. Don't tell her to calm down. Just go and apologize.
Oops.
When you tell Mother Nature to calm down, she Hurricane Katrina's you. Don't do that. All right, Nick, you own this, so you have to explain.
I do.
It.
Independence Day. No, not that one. The movie would have been better with Danny Trejo. So today being the 3rd, tomorrow being the 4th, happy Independence Day to us all. I just thought we'd mention it. Independence Day is coming up, and it's kind of a celebration of what we all here are all about on this podcast. I think, Phil, you would agree with me. Self-reliance, telling the British to piss off, telling the government fuck taxes, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Especially the self-reliance part.
I was already planning a post for tomorrow, something about evade taxes evade taxes, run guns, smuggle guns, and make your own moonshine. Be the kind of citizen the founding fathers would be proud of. Happy Independence Day.
Absolutely. But no, that movie would have been better with Danny Trejo and Steve Buscemi as the fighter pilots.
I'm pretty sure every movie would have been better with Danny Trejo.
Titanic.
Yes.
Find me a role in Titanic for Danny Trejo.
Well, he could have replaced what's her name.
Okay, that would have been a better movie. Yep. Nope. I'm fine with that.
Definitely would have been much more entertaining, wouldn't it?
I'm absolutely fine with that.
And then Steve Buscemi could have replaced Leonardo DiCaprio. Instantly much more entertaining.
All right. I will allow this. We need to crowdfund a remake.
No, that one of those was plenty. Thank you. All right. So where do we even start when we tell people that did not make it to this camping trip and haven't made it to any of the others? I feel like we have to start at the beginning.
Sure.
So when this podcast very first started, like pre-Nick, pre-Andrew, when it was just me Googling how to start a podcast, and I understand how absolutely hilarious that sounds in 2025 when AI can invent a whole podcast for you. But in the old days, back in my days, Sonny, you had to Google this stuff because there was no like pre-laid path for how to do this. You just figured it out. And I did that. And
Good.
as Nick is want to remind me, this is all my fault now because I went down that
100%
road.
your responsibility. Yes.
100, yeah. Making me responsible for all of this and all of y'all is a terrifying prospect.
When you're not responsible for us, you're responsible for bringing the group of us together and whatever ensues because of that.
Like I said, so I'm responsible for hooliganism and mayhem. In other words,
Yes.
Okay, that's probably fair.
Yeah, it's reasonable.
But when I first started this, the whole idea of the show was like I saw the preparedness lifestyle as being something that really should be more mainstream than it looked like.
Oh, absolutely.
And I wanted to break down that stigma where people think, well, I'm not into preparedness because I don't do these weird things. And I wanted to show people, I'm like, no, there's perfectly good reasons to be a prepper. And most of the stuff you're doing in your daily life kind of slots into that Jenga stack someplace of preparedness. You just don't think about it that way.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, I started looking for kind of like my extended tribe. You know, I met Andrew. We started really gelling together well as host and co-host. We got involved with the crew that puts on Prepper Camp, went out to a couple of those. Through that, we met James and the group at Prepper Broadcast Network. And like as we grew as in the preparedness lifestyle, the show continued to grow as well. And then that's kind of how we found our way to you, Nick, and then downgraded you from patron to co-host.
Yeah, it works out. I get to hassle you in real time now.
Okay, so you're welcome.
Yes. I enjoy myself.
But in the process of doing all this, like something stood out to me, and it was the fact that like I could not get my wife for years to come to Prepper Camp. I couldn't get my daughter to come. It was always that's the boys' trip. That's your thing.
Sure.
You know, like the prospect of living in a tent, weather be damned, which was a big deal breaker for the two of them. Because like normally when we go camping down here, we wait till it's cooler. We pick a good weekend. If it looks like it's going to rain the whole weekend, we'll usually scrap it, do another weekend. But in this case, like I was making these reservations 6 months in advance, and I didn't care if it was a tropical storm. I was going.
Right.
So that was a little more intimidating for my wife and daughter.
Can be, for sure.
The fact that we were going to almost make it a working trip for the podcast. They didn't feel like it was really their scene. And the idea of like, 8 hours, 3 days taking classes and everything just wasn't their thing. So that was about the moment I started talking to Andrew initially and said, hey, we're meeting this group of people at Prepper Camp. That's where we met Tommy, and that's where we first met Tim, and that's where we met, that's where we started meeting a lot of these people face to face. And I thought to myself, I'm like, but hold on a second. If I can't get these people to like come and hang out and bring their families, we're missing something here.
Absolutely.
We're missing the ability to like knit a community together, because we got to get the wives together. We got to get the kids playing together. We got to get these people out of the environment where it's just, I'm coming to take classes and take notes, and put them in a more casual environment where a person who's not hardcore prepper will come and not feel threatened by that. And that's when my wife and I initially, and then Andrew, started talking about how do we take this vibe, this around the campfire at Prepper Camp vibe, but we make it to where people want to bring their families out to it.
I think you've succeeded.
Well, that's where the Matter of Fact's summer camp came from. And it was a really simple concept. It was always, we're going to get everybody together. We're going to pick a spot somewhere in the U.S. We try to stay kind of centrally located so that it's equal distance for most people to make it. And I always tell everybody the same thing. We're going to be here from this date to this date. Make your own reservations. You can tent camp. You can stay in a cabin, stay in a lodge, stay in a hotel. Tim and Caroline bring their RV with them. Everybody does whatever they're comfortable with. And then we all spend that time together. We do a lot of sitting around the fire, fair amount of drinking, smoke way too many cigars.
Well,
We always wind up hiking together. We always wind up being tourists together. We wind up seeing the sights and exploring the area. And like, it's always this very open, do what you're comfortable with. Feel free to bow out if you're not happy with it. Go off, do your own thing. We'll catch up with you later.
right.
And it has turned into this event that, like, it started as, I've got this really cool camp vibe around the campfire that starts at about 6 p.m. at prepper camp, but I want to put that somewhere else where that's the vibe the whole time, and people bring their wives and their kids with them. And we've done that now. And this was the 4th year in a row that we've picked a spot, told everybody this is where we're going to be. Hope we see you. And every single year there's been more people show up.
True.
Oh, Stuart. Stuart said, my whole plan was to get them drunk, take compromising photos, and extort whiskey and cigars to not share the pics.
Look, I tried to get Phil drunk with some cask strength double oak, but
you succeeded,
noticed.
Sir. You succeeded. I am a lightweight. I am a very easy drunk, and that cask strength. Actually, the first night I hit it a little too hard, and my acid reflux was like set to kill.
Well, to be fair, there was also like 3 moonshine cherries in that old fashioned I made you.
Yes, there was.
There was.
So
That's right. It was a good time.
Oh, it was a great time. So the first 2 years we were at Lake DeGray in Arkansas. We stayed in the yurts, which you didn't make it to any of those, Nick. And
no, I didn't.
You missed out.
I
only say that
the yurts
because
look awesome.
I know sooner or later we're going to wind up back at Lake DeGray because it's such a fun spot.
It looks fantastic.
It's going to be a little more unseasonably, unnaturally hot in the summer than it was in the spring.
Yeah.
But Lake DeGray is just a ton of fun. And when we rent out those 3 yurts, they're on a peninsula. So like we own the whole peninsula all to ourselves. It's such a great little setup. But, and then last year we were at Fall Creek Falls in Tennessee.
Yep.
Rented a bunch. We had a group that stayed at the campsites. I went tent camp. A bunch of us rented out cabins that were literally hanging over the lake.
That sounds like Tennessee.
My wife and I had the experience of we had some difficulty with the climate controls because we found a thermostat and we were fooling with it. We couldn't figure out why the air conditioning wasn't getting any cooler. I mean, it wasn't like bad, but it was just on the verge of being a little warmer than we wanted it to be, and we couldn't figure out why it wasn't behaving itself. And then later on that evening, we noticed that the floor was awful hot, and that's when we realized that the thermostat we've been playing with was for the floor-mounted heaters.
Oh,
because
nice.
the cabin juts out over the lake, you have to heat the floor, otherwise it gets too cold. So once we discovered our error, we got everything adjusted properly. But that was an awesome trip. I mean, we hiked 4.5 miles down to the bottom of a waterfall. Most of the kids got to go swim in it. Some, like mine, were like, it is entirely too cold to be in that water. I think the Benefield kids and the Rainses had no fear of cold water whatsoever.
That sounds like kids.
Yeah. Well, also for our favorite Wisconsinites, they were the temperature at which the rest of us would have been, on the verge of hypothermia, they're giggling about. It's a wild experience. But it was a great time. Like, we did everything you can think of. We hiked, we saw the sights, we went to a cave, we spent a lot of time just eating and goofing off and just hanging out. And like, that's always the thing that's always the balancing act Gillian and I and the rest of the campers try to manage is, on the one hand, we're there, we want to see stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the opposite hand, we don't want to be like a Bataan death march and we spend like 3-4 days killing ourselves doing 12-hour days. We want to relax and visit. And we always find that balance someplace. And then this year we went to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And
we were not staying in the UP, but we did spend some time up there.
I mean, you could have thrown a rock and hit the UP as far north as we were. I mean, we were only like what, 2 miles from Mackinac Bridge?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, by the crow flies, yeah. Otherwise, by road, I think we were 5 or 6 miles from the Mackinac Bridge.
Yeah.
What?
So we spent 2 days like really hitting the pavement hard. The
Yep.
whole first day was just Mackinac Island.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Dude, that
I would do that again.
Mackinac Island is like being on freaking Mars. Like, my wife had told me about the place before I went up there, and I knew that it was like, okay, there's no motor vehicles. Like, but you can understand those words and not understand the impact that has on your environment, because
the amount of horses.
Well, not just okay. So as we were getting off the ferry, I looked to my right, and there's there's 2 horses hitched to a carriage, and they're loading stuff from one of the boats onto the horse-drawn carriages to deliver to the restaurants and the hotels and everything there. Like, there are no delivery trucks. There are no mail trucks. It's a couple of horses in a carriage.
Yep.
And again, I understand intellectually there are no motorized vehicles on the island, but that was just something that was like the biggest culture shock for me. I did not not only that, but as we were walking around, I noticed that there were a lot of people on bikes that had like big old baskets on the front of them.
Yep.
I saw 1 or 2, almost like a rickshaw, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bikes and trailers and stuff like that.
Yeah, but the other thing that jumped out at me, and like it makes total sense when I put it this way, but like I noticed a lot of e-bikes, first of all, and very high-end bicycles.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't see a lot of like cheap bikes there. I saw a lot of really, really nice bikes, which I guess makes sense if you think about the fact that your primary mode of transportation on the island is by bike.
Right. And all the bikes exclusively had street tires. You didn't see a single off-road tire on any of the bikes, which is interesting. I almost wonder if it's not. I've always had off-road tires on all my bikes growing up because I grew up out in the boonies.
All terrains, yeah.
Yeah, 60% of the time we weren't on the road anyway. And if you were, you shouldn't have been.
So I suspect that is either because there's a stated prohibition on like driving across people's lawns, or at a minimum, it's probably a massive social faux pas because as well manicured as that place was.
Oh, immaculate.
I mean, and not even just like the public spaces or like the lodges and the hotels that were out there.
Because we did accidentally end up in a neighborhood at one point.
Yeah, but like even people's private residences were beautifully manicured. I can totally understand how it's frowned upon to drive across somebody's lawn up there. Hence, everybody has road tires. Like that makes sense to me.
Yeah,
but
it definitely wouldn't have been okay.
But yeah, the overwhelming number of horses did mean that literally everywhere you walk, you have to watch for road apples.
True.
Which
it wasn't
again,
that bad. It was surprisingly clean for the number of horses that were there.
I'm sure they are going around at least once a day shoveling everything.
Oh,
they have to be.
It is probably continuous. I know when we were walking down Main Street, there were a couple of guys that were cleaning up the roads as we were just walking around.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things that like, when's the last time, Nick, you were just walking around in a neighborhood and had to watch out for horse crap? I mean, it's not a common experience in the 21st century.
2 years ago.
Okay,
there's a lady. Yeah, there's a lady that lives just on the other side of our neighborhood that keeps horses, and every once in a while she comes and visits us. A friend of hers that lives in our neighborhood on a horse.
Okay, so in your sample size of one, it happened 2 years ago.
Correct.
It's a rare occurrence everywhere else in the
agree.
Industrialized world.
Yeah, it definitely is fairly rare.
Yeah. But according to my watch, we hiked 17 flights of stairs, 5.5 miles that day.
It was a good start for the morning, yeah.
Yeah. And y'all saw the fort, which the rest of us bowed out of because by the time y'all said y'all want to do the fort, the rest of us were starving.
You guys were. But we did manage to do the fort and meet up with you by the time you guys were getting your food, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, although it is worth pointing out that like we made multiple stops because like a couple of people like just kind of goofed off at the shops. Gillian went
and there were 4 dogs with you.
Yeah, Gillian went looking for postcards because her and her sister had this thing. Did you hear this story?
Oh yeah, she told me about it.
Yeah, so my wife, everywhere my wife and her sister go, they find a postcard, write one word on the postcard, and then mail it to the other sister. And my wife had to find a postcard and mail it to her sister.
She found a good one.
Oh yeah, it was beautiful. It was a little bit of sentiment on the back of it.
Yeah, exactly. Sisterly love right there.
Yes. And then after that, I mean, it was hit the shops.
Mm-hmm.
I got groused endlessly by all of you freaking jerks because I went and got Kilwin's fudge and not genuine Mackinac Island fudge.
To be fair, that was 90% Andrew's instigation.
Oh, yes. It was 90% Andrew's instigation. And you know what? That's fine because it tasted amazing and I wasn't mad about it.
Yeah.
And then my daughter wanted to go hit the haunted theater. I asked my wife if she wanted to go, fully expecting that she wouldn't say yes.
Oops.
She went in with us.
Nice.
She hates haunted houses and hates horror movies and does not like being scared. She is notorious in this house, by the way, of, you know, the jump scare reels where like you're sitting there watching a reel, it's something nice and peaceful and something jumps out at you.
Yep.
Yeah. Gillian has thrown her cell phone across a room when that jump scare happened.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a choice. Phones are expensive.
Yes. Well, this one's very well armored and has a screen protector on for a reason.
Good.
But she went into the haunted theater with us.
How'd that go?
The very first room, she got behind me, grabbed hold of my traps, and then closed her eyes and would not open them until we left.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. My daughter was having okay fun. Every now and then she'd drop an F-bomb when something would make her jump. Yeah. And as we were getting ready to leave, one of the set workers jumped out at her and she swung on him. And then
well-raised daughter.
And then realized she'd swung on a perfectly harmless human being and apologized to him. Mm-hmm. But the funny part was I'm walking these two girls through, and like I am literally telling Gillian, like, hey, there's a coffin right there, something's gonna jump out of it, and oh, we're in a dark room, something's about to grab one of us. I mean, I'm telling her what's gonna happen.
You've been through enough of these, you could see it coming.
I mean, yeah. And I don't scare easily. So,
right.
But yeah, every time someone would freak Gillian out, those little fingers of hers would dig further and further into my traps until I was pretty sure I walked out with bruises.
Well, that'll happen.
Yeah. But it was a good time, you know. Gillian got her souvenir, Piper got the crap scared out of her, and I got my fudge, and then we made our way back to Paradise Lake. That was so it's weird, and it took me a second to realize this. The name of the little burg we were staying at was Carp Lake.
Correct.
But the lake the cabins were on was Paradise Lake.
It used to be called Carp Lake. They renamed it.
Oh. And no, Gillian, I did not die, but I still was physically injured, and you should make it up to me.
Well, look, Phil, as far as I'm concerned, you're the husband. You signed on for this.
Thanks, Nick. Whose side are you on?
I mean, I'm on the side of it's funny. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Here I am trying to extort a back rub out of her, and you're on the side of good fun.
There are far easier ways to extort a back rub. All you have to do is cook a very delicious meal.
She cooked dinner tonight. Maybe I should give her a back rub.
There you go.
Done deal. Thank you, Nick.
Seems reasonable to me. Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that evening, it was just by the time we got back to the cabins, we were all freaking zonked. Like, I literally walked in the front door, freaking like rolled up my pant legs, shed my shoes, and put my flip flops on, and went straight to the back porch with a cigar.
Not a wrong answer.
We spent most of the evening doing exactly what I love doing with all y'all. Like, we sat around, we smoked, we drank, and we just hung out.
Good food.
What did we do that night for dinner? I know the Rains made the beans
that time.
Yeah, that first night was everybody for themselves. And that's like one difference, because like in past years when we've done this, we've always made a point of doing like, this is your night to cook for everybody. This is your night to cook for everybody. And as much fun as it has been in the past to do it that way, where like everybody has basically one meal they're responsible for, and we do communal meals. What we realized last year, and it wasn't as much of an issue at Lake DeGray, but it became an issue last year, was that we were in a situation where sometimes we'd be out doing something and the family that quote unquote had to cook the meal had to bug out early,
Right.
so that they could go back to the cabins and start getting stuff ready for dinner. And it was like, that was when Gillian and I had the realization that, like, okay, the communal meal thing might need to get adjusted or amended some kind of way, because we don't want to wind up in a situation where somebody say, well, I have to go be an adult and cook for everybody and everybody else is off having fun. Like, so that's why we decided this year, like, okay, let's not do communal meals this time, not standardized, formalized communal meals. Victoria and Kyle were our two new campers this year. Victoria brought an absolutely ridiculous amount of homemade sourdough bread, which was
So
amazing. The Rainses made a big old pot of beans one night, and that I don't think much of that made it home. Like, we ate.
I think none of that made it home.
So everybody kind of like what we ended up doing was like everybody was responsible for their own dinner, but then post dinner when everybody was sitting around drinking
treats.
Yeah, everybody brought snacky stuff, and I think that was the best way to fit. I think we finally might have happened upon the best way to do this, because everybody knew going in, you do your own breakfast, your own lunch, your own dinner. And that meant that, to everyone's own taste and budget, some people opted for like Mountain House in the morning. Some people cooked a whole big old breakfast, a casserole or something. A lot of times we did, hang on a second. Jeff Jag said the Rumble chat's still not figured out. So the problem with Rumble, before I get back on my train of thought, is that Rumble does not have a direct API set up with StreamYard. So I'm not able to see those chats in this interface. Although,
if I can rig something up.
Well, I mean, what we would have to do is one of us would have to have Rumble open and be watching those chats, but we still won't be able to do what we do with like StreamYard and be able to bring them in here and show everybody what we're talking about.
That's fair.
So now I will say that what I have considered doing, and I've been about this close to doing it a couple of times, is just dumping StreamYard and YouTube completely and just doing everything straight out of Rumble. I could, and it would save a not inconsequential amount of money in the annual budget to do that. But we still have more viewership on YouTube than we do on Rumble. And that's kind of, as long as that continues to be the way, although it is kind of an argument to be made of like, do we have more viewership on YouTube because people can actually comment on YouTube and then we can see it, or people can comment on Facebook and we can see it? Or is it just that Rumble is still not mature enough? I mean, that's I
don't know, guys. Let us know what you think. If everybody says they're fine with Rumble, then
Jeff Jag said, "Oh, this is on my side. Still tell me to verify and haven't figured out how to fix it." Well, but that's also the reason why, like, a lot of content creators haven't completely embraced Rumble yet. Like, I enjoy using Rumble. I make a point of like checking up on it every now and then. But I am not yet at the point of like full commit, just because it's still not quite a mature interface yet. And the UI is not great for the viewer.
Yeah, I would admit to that. Rumble's UI is definitely not as smooth as YouTube's. Their search function is getting better. Not as good as YouTube's. But YouTube is also, kind of piggybacking off of Google's search engines.
Yeah, so which is the same.
Can you fight that? I mean, come on. Google, like, they were the first and best dressed for search engines.
Yeah. Well, and it's also the fact that, like, you and I have had our issues with YouTube and, by extension, Google, and by extension, Facebook, and by extension, Instagram, downvoting all of our crap numerous times.
Absolutely.
So.
And Raggle's right. One of the big reasons why everyone's on YouTube is because everything is on YouTube.
It's why they've tried several times to make like GunTube, and it's never taken off every time, because it's
guns is too small of a niche. As popular as guns are, just gun channels, just prepper channels, just whatever. It's never going to beat the all of everything channels.
Yeah. Now, the only thing I think that could actually help us, but it would involve YouTube doing something catastrophically stupid, which they might do, is I think if YouTube ever went full blown. These types of content are no longer welcome here. Like, none of the censoring, none of the downvoting, none of the goofing around, none of the nonsense they pulled in the past, where they just kind of like put their finger on the scale, but they wholesale
which they're
said,
still doing,
which they still do. But if they went one step further and said all gun content, prepper content, right wing content, all that is no longer welcome on YouTube. Period. In discussion. Mm-hmm. I think then all of that would bifurcate to Rumble.
Oh, it would, absolutely.
And with the influx into Rumble and with the no longer having that content available on YouTube, I think then you would see Rumble grow dramatically, and you would also see the audience bifurcate, where you would have, like, to Raggle Fraggle's point, he'd go on YouTube for certain things and Rumble for other things, because those two things would no longer, the Venn diagram would no longer overlap.
Right.
But that would, I think that the reason why YouTube has not done that is because they know.
Oh, it would just give money to their competition.
Yeah. So they would rather put their finger on the scale than
they'd rather control the forum than not.
Yeah. So anyway, that is total. That is like 90% semi-informed speculation, but that's kind of the way I see it happening.
I think it's a very fair point.
Better to be controlled opposition than to allow your enemy to talk amongst himself in private.
Probably.
If that sounds really conspiratorial, sorry.
That's because it is a conspiracy, Phil. Why do you think Google bought YouTube?
I mean, aren't all conspiracy theories just fact waiting to be proven or admitted?
Michael Jackson is dead, though. No, he's dead.
I think he was an alien personally, but that's another show.
I think he was just a mentally ill person who was abused chronically as a child and had a drug problem.
Two things can be true at the same time.
I do not know how aliens react to drug abuse. So for now, I'm sticking with horribly abused child.
That's probably more on point.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to topic. So the next day, Stuart, okay, pause for 6 minutes while I go help my wife with medical stuff.
We could find just a little timer that counts down 6 minutes.
Yes, but I don't want to encourage him.
That's fair. He's incorrigible enough as it is.
No, it's incorrigible, not incorrigible. Incorrigible. They're different words. Fair. They mean different things.
I do not know the difference in spelling.
Incorrigible means able to be encouraged. Incorrigible means Stuart.
Ah, good.
But so the next day we didn't go back to Mackinac Island. We did, however, drive like 500 freaking miles.
It wasn't 500.
Bruh.
You guys drove as much that day as I did to get to camp.
Okay, so
me and my wife skipped out early. We left our dog back at the cabin, so we had a perfect excuse to miss the last 4 hours of driving.
Yes, but we drove from Paradise Lake almost to freaking Canada to Whitefish Point.
Yes. Which and I'm fantastic.
Yeah, not even exaggerating. We drove almost to Canada. We went to the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum. By the way, I've never been to Northern Michigan. I was unaware of just how spicy the Great Lakes could be. I was shocked, speechless at the sheer volume of shipwrecks off that point.
Bro, they're a mini ocean.
Okay, but hear me out. It's like when someone tells you that a mountain is really tall. And you're like, okay, it's a mountain, it's really tall. No duh. Right. And then you stand at the bottom of it and look up and you're like, God almighty.
Damn, man, that is really tall.
Okay. I understand it's a big lake. Okay. I can look at a map and you could fit almost my entire state in the Great Lakes. Like, it's a huge freaking lake. But to stand on the shores of it and not be able to see the land on the other side is just shocking. Like, I go through this same thing, by the way, even when I'm at the like when you go down to like the Mandeville lakefront and you're looking across Lake Pontchartrain, and New Orleans is like this little sliver on the horizon. And Lake Pontchartrain's not a little bitty lake.
No.
That's a big old chunk of water. The Great Lakes are great for a reason. They are freaking enormous.
30-foot waves.
I'm going to tell you that like the day before we left, sitting at like just sitting on that back porch watching Paradise Lake, which is a little bitty lake, watching the waves that were cooking across that thing, and then thinking about what it was like out on the Great Lakes that day, I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was totally unprepared for how incredibly impressive and violent that those lakes can be.
So I have gone on a salmon charter on Lake Michigan. I'm used to boats, grew up in boats. My dad's had a boat. This was a 30-foot cabin cruiser on Lake Michigan. When we left Winthrop Harbor, for those of you that are familiar with Lake Michigan, it's a pretty big harbor. About 6 o'clock in the morning, we leave on this charter boat. It's kind of late morning because it was an early season cruise. And, 12, 14-inch rollers. Within 4 hours, it had gone from 12-inch to 6 foot to then 8 foot in a 30-foot cabin cruiser. So when you were standing on the deck of the boat, you could just, you could tell that the top of the boat was just below the top of the crest of those waves in about 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours.
That's called nope weather.
Yeah, when the first mate and the captain on your charter boat take off their life jackets is when you start getting concerned.
Why did they take off their life jacket?
Because the water was 40 degrees. Didn't matter. Coast Guard wasn't going to get to you in time.
Outstanding.
I asked him. I said, they had us all put life jackets on and all that because it was getting a little rolly. And, guys slip off the deck every now and then. Fair enough. Fine. But at a certain point, right before he told us, hey, guys, we got to pack it in early. Sorry, got to cut it short. The weather's getting too severe for this boat. I see him stowing away their life jackets. So I asked him, and he said, with the water temperature the way it is, you will die of hypothermia before the Coast Guard gets here. So you can choose to drown fast or you can choose to freeze to death. Your call, man. I choose drowning.
I mean, I still think I probably still choose hypothermia because then, although at 40 degrees, that's still going to suck.
40 degrees was surface temperature, yeah.
Anyway, so the Shipwreck Museum was sobering, to say the least.
Oh, yeah. Very.
After that, we saw Tequamato Falls.
Which, beautiful little falls.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that the path to walk down to the falls was closed for construction, but
Yeah. I understand why they want to make all these easily accessible paths. And this is something we talked about actually that night around the campfire, that it is nice that they make these paths easily accessible to people. I can understand it for the overlooks. I want a little bit of rock scrambling to get down to the falls. Even if it's only a couple of miles of scrambling. You know what I'm saying, Phil?
Yeah.
I'd like to feel like I earned going down to the falls rather than walk down some stairs.
You would have liked Fall Creek Falls.
Probably would have loved it.
4.5 miles down.
That sounds like a good start to the morning.
4.5 miles back up.
Yeah. Yeah, when me and my wife went to see Rainbow Falls in Tennessee, I think it was 6 miles up.
But I still say, as cool as Tequamato Falls was, and the restaurant there was really nice.
Yeah, it was.
But Kitch to Kippy that y'all skipped out on, bruh.
I know.
Did you see the pictures?
To see that. I did. They are shocking.
So Kitch to Kippy is a freshwater lake that is filled by
bottom up from a spring, isn't it?
Yeah, from the bottom up by a natural spring. And apparently there's a massive copper deposit in the groundwater because the water has this greenish blue tint to it. But it is crystal clear all the way to the bottom. So as they put us in this little boat that was like being towed across on a cable.
Yeah.
And the boat has a hole in the bottom. It's basically like a pontoon boat with a clear center.
Yeah.
And you're looking at fish swimming underneath you. You can see the floor of the lake. It is the creepiest, coolest experience I've had in a long time because especially down here by like Pontchartrain and the Mississippi and the Pearl, like these and the Tangipahoa River, these rivers are also freaking muddy and full of silt. You can't you can put your arm into that river and can't count your fingers.
Well, you're at the bottom of the continental flowage.
Yeah, but up there, the water was so clear, it was just it was shocking. I don't know another word for it, and it probably sounds really funny to anybody that's from that part of the country, but it was like being on Mars. It was so completely different from anything I've experienced in South Louisiana. It was a really, really cool experience.
Yeah, it was. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find any of your wife's rocks that she was looking for with her flashlight.
Yeah, Gillian went out looking for Uper rocks and didn't find any. I have assured her that just means we'll just have to go back one day.
Just have to go back.
Yeah. But it was a good time. That evening, we knew that the next morning we were going to lose a handful of campers. So that night we went back. That's when we recorded the roundtable episode or the fireside episode. We call it different things every year.
Yep.
We low-key bullied Kyle and Victoria into coming on. I told the two of them, I'm like, hey, summer camp is like Fight Club. If it's your first year, you have to fight.
I just keyed up my wife to grab them and pull them onto the table. It worked out pretty well.
Yeah. But they came on and they were a lot of fun. I mean, Victoria and Kyle they were a lot of fun.
They are.
They're
good people.
Little on the quiet side. I mean, I almost got the impression that like they were a little bit intimidated when they first kind of like came around the corner and said, hey guys, but we did our absolute best to just welcome him in, fold him in, make him part of the group and make him feel comfortable because like that's the whole
I get
point.
it. It's they've talked to a few of the people in the Patreon chat, and they've talked to you and me in the Patreon chat back and forth, but they've never met us in person. I get it. It's a big group of people. It's a group of people you really don't know. Yeah, you see me and Phil's face and Andrew's face all the time, but you don't see the faces of the other patrons. So you don't really recognize them necessarily right off the bat. And there's a pretty good chance everybody in that group is armed.
Oh, there's 100% chance that at least one member of every family was armed at all times. Like that's just baseline.
Yeah, so I get it. Big new group of people, but dear God, did she slay the bread?
Oh my God,
was that good?
God,
would eat again many times.
Well, and the hilarious part is like, so most of y'all had this experience when you get me talking about something that I know a lot about, like coffee or night vision or anything like that.
Yeah, me, you, and Kyle about reloading when we first got to Mackinac Island, creeping out the normies.
Just don't make plans for about an hour because I'm going to sit there and talk your freaking ears off until I've gotten it out of my system. That was Victoria with sourdough bread.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as someone asked, like, you could just see it flow out of her. And it was the coolest thing because I was just like, this little lady has found her niche. She is she is going to tell us all about sourdough bread because it's something she knows a lot about and she's passionate about. And you're right, Kyle was the same way. Once we got him talking about reloading components, the conversations just flowed and it was so much fun.
Oh man, it's like getting together with your high school buddies all over again this trip. That's exactly what it is. It's a bunch of people that you have a ton in common with, despite the fact that you've maybe never met them before. And
and that to me, that is kind of like the fun part of this is that like even though it was like our first time meeting each other face to face. I mean, yeah, we talk every week.
We do.
But like you and I had hypothesized before we went out there, like either our wives are going to really hit it off or they're going to totally hate each other.
Definitely get along well.
What I came away with was I was like, okay, probably owing to the fact that like you and I have somewhat similar personalities in some ways.
Oh yeah.
The two of them had fairly similar personalities in some ways. It was fun because like, I don't want to say that it's a homogenous group because by no means is it.
No.
But there's enough commonalities there in terms of like interest, personality. I almost want to call it like social confidence, as weird as that sounds. Because like I don't think it's probably a stretch to say that the majority of us in mixed company are probably like a little more private, keep to ourselves, a little more measured, maybe not let all the crazy come out in front of the normies.
Sure.
But in this bunch, we know we can just let it all out.
Oh yeah, and it's fantastic.
And because of that, there's this like quiet confidence where it's like I can let my guard down and be me around all these people because they're just as weird as I am.
Yep, in the best possible way.
Oh look, when I call people nerd or dork and all that stuff, that is like absolutely a term of endearment with me.
Nerds are my favorite people because they are passionate and knowledgeable. Like, I love that. If there is something that you just absolutely cannot get enough of, and you have devoted so much time to learning it that you are that enthusiastic explaining it to me, phenomenal. I want everything to do with that because, number one, now I don't have to spend all that time learning it because I've learned it all from you, and it's probably something that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's like when I pull my laptop out and like turn around and just just thumb through all this satellite data and tell me what you think.
Oh Christ! I spent 45 minutes digging through your laptop looking at satellite data.
Fortunately, I don't keep the spicy pics on that.
That's fine. I don't need those.
But yeah, I mean, it's just I think that is what I love so much about hanging out with this group. Like I've said it before. I will say it every time. It will be a meme or it'll be annoying. But like the summer camp trip is the trip I look forward to for like 11 and a half months.
Yep.
Every single year, I am just chomping at the bit to get back out there, pick another place, go see my friends again, go hang out, make those memories, get the kids together for as many years as we can convince all of them to have anything to do with us.
Yeah. And they seem to love it.
Yeah.
It's like seeing friends they haven't seen in a long time. Those kids, when they got together, not a hesitation. They're all hanging out, goofing off. Heck, your daughter was dissecting critters.
Yes, my daughter and Josh's middle child.
I think so, yeah.
Dissecting minnows because they just wanted to see what was inside of them.
Fair enough.
Although true to form, my daughter found a minnow that like washed up on a bank because I always told her, I'm like, if you kill it, you have to eat it. She said, but this was already dead when I found it. I'm like, okay, that's fair.
Don't eat it.
Don't eat it if it was already dead.
Not sure how long that had been dead.
Not sure either, but not long enough to. Well, I mean, it smelled fishy, but probably owing to what it was.
Yeah.
But no, I mean,
not
it's
terrible long.
And the thing of it is that like I can't speak for everybody else, but I know that like my own personality being what it is, in mixed company, I never fully relax. Like I'm always like keeping one eye on my wife, one eye on my daughter. But in this group, I can just take a deep breath and be like, my wife is among friends. My daughter is among friends. Any one of these men or women, if they saw my daughter in distress, would not even think twice about running over to go help her out because that's just the people that we assemble for this group.
Absolutely.
And it is exactly what I always hoped it would be. It is a family. It is a truly family friendly. Bring your families out. Come and hang out. Come and meet your people. It is that kind of event. And
please bring your dogs because I want to pet them.
Oh, yes. All the dogs come. Now, my one marginal regret is that we've always restricted this to like patrons and one or two people that we've invited above, in addition to the patrons. But it's pretty much people we've camped with before that like we know them. We know they fit into the group. We like there's a couple of exceptions.
People you met at prepper camp.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And I've wrestled with this. Like some years I'm like, do we open it up more? But then I think to myself, I'm like, but I don't know if opening up more is really the right thing to do. I don't feel like it is.
Maybe one year at some point we can discuss it and just open it up to listeners generally of the podcast. I don't know that I'd want to open it up further than that because I don't know.
But now that Cypress Survivalist has kind of like gotten legs underneath it, like those really are available to everyone, public facing events. But I kind of feel like the Matter of Fact Summer Camp is probably for the foreseeable future. It's always going to stay that small group. It's always going to stay the patrons.
Yeah.
And we're going to move it around every year to try to make it a little more convenient for people in different parts of the country. So that hopefully, like, you didn't make it last year because it was a 12-hour drive, but now we're like 2 hours away from you. You have no reason.
12-hour drive. Plus, I had no vacation time left over.
Hey, look, I understand that. I mean, the whole reason why we moved it into the summer was because a couple of our campers are teachers, and those poor ladies just do not get time off during the school year.
Correct.
So it's one of those things where, like, I would love to tell everybody I'm just a freaking genius and I planned all this out, but most of the history of the Matter of Facts podcast has been kind of like me saying, let's see if this works or not, and then just going for it. And this camping trip kind of started out the same way. It was, let's try it once and see how it works. And then every year I'm like, well, this worked out much better than I thought it would. So let's just keep going.
It worked out phenomenally well. My only thing I would like to do, and we talked about this at the trip, is that it would be nice if we could find a campground that had the cabins, had the camping, had the RV parking, so we were all in the same general area. Because there were a couple of us that had to drive a little bit.
Yeah.
You know.
And actually, like, this year was the first year we had people at different campgrounds.
Right.
Because at Lake DeGray, you have all three.
Yep.
And at Fall Creek Falls, we had that row of cabins, but then we had people that were like maybe a quarter mile away that were all
down the lane.
Camping. Mm-hmm. So this year was kind of the first, and honestly, it was kind of like, it wasn't really pre-planned that we were going to be broken up into 3 different groups like this. It just kind of happened.
Yeah, that it worked out well. We rented out all but one of the cabins at this little resort that we were at.
Those poor people.
They were fine with it. They were right down next to us. They had a couple of dogs with them too. I was over petting their dogs the one morning. They seem like nice folks.
But yeah, I will admit, next year I want to make sure, and for the purposes of the viewership who's hung out with us for like 57 minutes. So next year we're eyeballing Kentucky.
Yep.
It's not set in stone yet, but Caroline is doing some looking to see if there's like a state park or something in that area that will fit our needs. And like you said, her
husband did say she was excellent at planning, so we voluntold her to plan.
Yeah, I mean, I would go so far as say we might have bullied her, but I don't think
she seemed enthusiastic.
Look, you can't bully that woman doing anything she doesn't want to do. Her personality will not tolerate that.
She's a wooden spoon away from being a grandma chasing folks.
I'm not even going to insinuate that you refer to her as a grandmother because you might get wooden spoon.
That's fine.
But yeah, we're eyeballing Tennessee. I want to say, and don't say his name on air, but I want to say we have a patron from Kentucky, and I could be totally screwed up on that, but I would swear we have a patron from Kentucky.
I don't remember where everyone is from.
I will if you remind me, I will ask in the patron signal chat after this. Yeah. We've got one, and I want to say he's from Kentucky. I could be making that up, but I could have swore he was from Kentucky. He's probably from another state, and I'm just being an idiot. But anyway,
could be nearabouts Kentucky.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things nearabouts Kentucky, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is, yes.
But we're looking at Kentucky. That's going to be a little more central to everyone than Michigan, which Michigan worked out beautifully for the group from Wisconsin, for the 2 groups from Wisconsin, and for you. And it was a 2-day, it was a hump for the
It was a bender for Phil.
Oh, yeah. So we're looking at doing something that's like a day drive for everybody to get there. Caroline's going to do some looking into to see if she can find something that does satisfy all those requirements. Like, we have everything from cabins to tents and everything in between, so everybody can get what they want and we all be back together again. And I am hoping we can have something worked out within a month or 2, because we all know that by about September we need to start making reservations for summer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's in the works. Quite frankly, this is the way the summer camp works, is before we leave summer camp, we are already thinking about what to do next year, because some part of this has to be pre-planned.
It really does. Raggle, I appreciate that. But man, I got to find a job down there. I imagine
Dude,
there are tool makers down there, but
bruh, oil
I
industry.
do I know, but I don't want to work for the oil industry. Their stuff is big and heavy. I'm a tool
And
maker. I like small, detailed things that I don't need a forklift for. I get it. I get it. I know it's not. I know. I know.
good
I got
good
a lot of
machine.
family here. That's the trouble. You
Yeah,
know,
and,
we
and your wife has emphatically reminded me on multiple occasions she likes snow and hates heat. So
yes, that is accurate. She is not very happy with the weather we're currently having. But I mean, our raspberry patch came in great, so we made some raspberry and strawberry smoothies this afternoon, which were fantastic.
yeah, no, I gave Rachel a tremendous amount of hell, good naturedly as possible, and I might have cleared the path for you to buy expensive See in the Dark stuff. You're welcome.
Yeah, she does think they are very cool. She also thinks I need to finish the bathroom renovation we're in the middle of.
I mean, I I I hate to
There are
take her
holes in walls, and the shower is not usable.
I hate to take her side in this, but since you didn't take my side on the back rub, I will have to take her side in this.
That's fair. I also would like this bathroom to be finished because I hate having stuff broken in my house. Drives me a little bit crazy.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to belabor the point. Summer camp was a ton of fun. It
Oh,
is
I
a
can't
ton of
wait.
fun.
I can't wait for next year.
It is a ton of fun every freaking year, and like I am not upset about the fact that this is, at least for the time being, the only like podcast affiliated trip we all take. It's
Mm-hmm.
This is what I hoped this would turn into, and it has never ever disappointed me. And every year it's more fun. Like I don't know what we're going to do when we get to the day where it's like, oh, this year was kind of a bust. I
You
don't
know
know
what we
how
do?
it's I don't know how it's going to feel because it hasn't happened yet.
Rent a gun range.
Um,
Can't have a bust with that.
actually, funny you mentioned that. So we actually do have a couple of patrons who have basically offered for us to go and crash at their two conjoined properties,
Oh,
and they live in the middle of nowhere, so they basically have a private gun range.
well then, that could be fun.
But Kentucky,
That might be a good excuse for us to break out the breaching rounds. I do have a pickup. I could probably bring some doors.
well, I know that next year, like we're probably going to stick to Kentucky unless we find a really good reason not to.
Fair.
Gillian and I
It's
were
it's
actually
very centrally located. It's an easier drive for you guys. It's still not a bad drive for us. Not at all.
no. Gillian and I were actually discussing like how possible it would be to have everybody come down to Louisiana one year. But I mean, it's brutally hot in the summer.
Done right, and I think right includes mostly cabins with air conditioning for people so that they can cool off at the end of the day.
So what I was thinking was for something like that, we would almost have to do like Fountainblue State Park has the group camping where it's basically like a big bunkhouse, but I'm pretty sure it's air conditioned. Or you'd have to do individual cabins. Like the tent camping down here in the summer is a suicide mission.
Oh yeah, it's not a wise choice at all because you're just not going to get any sleep and you're not going to get to recover.
Yeah.
Even if you're pumping liquid IVs every other water bottle, you're going to have problems.
Yeah. But even that being said, like she and I talked about it and I was like, okay, well, like there's a bunch of a bunch of nature trails around here. There's several miles of hiking paths all around Fountainblue State Park. We could do a day trip up to Bogo, which is another state park about an hour and a half away. That's absolutely freaking beautiful.
Nice.
And if we wanted to like get away from the camp and go into town to eat, there's literally we are an hour drive away from New Orleans, which I wouldn't want to take everybody to. But the point is that on the North Shore, we can rival New Orleans for good food.
Oh, I believe that.
So like, I don't know. It's been something that we've kicked around. I don't know logistically if we can make it work because it's it's such a god awful. Oh yes, Raggle Fraggle, Abita Brewery. So there's
I heard brewery I'm in.
So yeah, Abita Beer is our local brand, and it's the brewery is like about 5 miles away from me.
Nice.
And matter of fact, they have an affiliated property called the Abita Brew Pub that's like
Okay.
up in that area, and it's a hell of a good restaurant and bar all by itself.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, there's tons of stuff to do around here. I fear that. Yeah, see, Stuart's saying kind of the same thing I am. Like summertime in South Louisiana, everyone would have to be okay with cabins, even if in the name of like budgetary issues, a couple of people buddied up in cabins. Like it's just too freaking hot down here to tent camp in the summer.
It is.
Which is unfortunate because I'd love to show everybody Louisiana. But then guys, people like y'all and the Rainses probably wouldn't even be able to make the drive because it'd be 2 days of driving for y'all to get down here.
No, it'd probably be one for us. I think it'd be about one for us. It'd be a long day, but we'd get there.
It'd be a long day, bud.
It's only like 14 hours. But I don't know. There's definitely some museums and stuff down there by you that'd be pretty cool to see. It would entirely depend, I think. You know, and maybe I don't know, maybe we do a winter camping trip down there by you guys. It'd still be like 60.
It would depend. Well, it would depend on the time of year. I mean, if you go in like November, December, and it's not a rainy winter, it's actually really nice down here.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's great tent camping weather down here in like November, December. But the problem is that some winters it's very dry and for us very cold, and other years it's like fall. It's warm and it's wet and it's raining constantly, and the mosquitoes are like this freaking big and they're angry, and it's just not as pleasant of a trip.
Fair.
So anyway. But yeah, Kentucky is probably going to be the vibe for next year. And starting next show, we'll get things back on the rails. I understand that a big, beautiful bill has been passed in the House. And
anything big and government, I disapprove of.
I'm sorry, I didn't use the sarcastic font.
You should have.
I should have put the air quotes up. Big, beautiful bill.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I don't know. In a week, perhaps we will have some. I mean, I have thoughts now, but they're mostly sarcastic. You know what, Nick? Next week, let's do some research and let's come back to the show in a week to talk about the big, beautiful bill, and let's bring booze.
I'm gonna have to make a trip to the distillery because y'all drank most of my booze.
I'm not apologizing. I actually came home with a full bottle of Knob Creek smoked maple.
I just finished the last of that double oak. Big
See,
sad.
we didn't drink all of it. You drank most of it.
I just had the double worth left. That was it, man. I'm gonna have to get some more. Also, my wife decided she likes 100% rye bourbon now, so gonna have to get a case of that too.
That's because she has good taste.
She does have very good taste. I mean, she married me.
I knew you were going to say that.
Thanks for the setup, bud. I appreciate that.
Hey, I'm always good for a layup, man. I can't get it in the basket, but I can throw it up in the air for you.
We'll get it close. That's all that matters, right?
Yep. All right. Let's go ahead and punt this one out the door. In a week, we'll be ranting and raving about politics, and God only knows where we'll go from there. But yeah, if you're a patron and you are in the vicinity of like the middle of the country, you should probably take this moment in time to either check in with me on Patreon or in the Signal chat. And if you're not in the patron only Signal chat, you probably should be, because there's a lot of lunatics. I mean, cool people in there you should talk to. And you should definitely keep your ears open, because as soon as we like say this is the spot, usually what I do is I put that in. I drop that on Patreon, because if you're a patron, you should have access to Patreon. That's kind of how that works. And usually I will also like make a quick podcast release about it on the patron only feed. And then we'll talk about it on this public podcast. And then I'll put it in the Signal chat. And at some point, if you haven't heard about it, it's because you're just not listening, in which case I'm taking your money and you're not getting anything for it. which I feel a certain way about, but I probably shouldn't.
Well, you know, we appreciate it either way.
Yes. All right. Matter of Facts podcast going out the door. There is no outro, so this will be a little jarring, but I promise a little bit more professionalism next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.